All right. Happy Thursday. I am super, super excited, stoked about what we're going to be sharing today. Um, my intent is that you are too. So yeah, so we're going to go ahead and dive in. There maybe some people, I tend to never introduce myself because it's my coaching clients, and yet there no one other coach had some her clients that she might or that she had invited on because she was on vacation. So my information's on the screen, and Mon is going to put it in the chat box. That way, if there's something that we're talking about today and you don't have it, now if you're in my coaching schedule, we've emailed it out, so you should have it. But if for whatever reason, or if you're not in my coaching schedule, you put that in the chat box, then Mon will be checking that and make sure that you get that. So that's the housekeeping, and then we are going to jump in, okay? And the other thing, I know a lot of times people ask if this is being recorded. We are recording this. We're going to email this out probably tomorrow, no later than Friday for the recording. So, all right, diving in. Very excited. So this is where we're at and where we're going. So far, right, in the last few weeks, we've actually reviewed, hold on, I got too many things that are popping up into my view. Okay, so in the last 4 weeks, we've worked on 3 weeks reviewing the 7 habits of highly effective people. Last week, we worked on habit 1, being proactive. Today, we're going to take some time and actually review that. What did we implement? We know that hearing things more than once is going to, typically take it for us to really start internalizing it. We also reviewed the economic model, the lead generation model, and today we're moving to the budget model. We're also going to go back and review the economic and lead generation model today as well. And so we're going to be doing a quick review of what's covered. And then we're going to be looking at habit 2 from the habits of highly effective people. Begin with the end in mind. Ultimately, that's what we're doing with that begin with the end in mind, right? We're building our 2021 business plan. And I know everybody that since Mega Camp, you've heard me say this over and over, and yet I think it just rings so true. As Keith Cunningham said, right, the author of The Road Less Stupid, and he shared this with Gary at Mega Camp, a goal without that yellow brick road or pathway is where we get stuck. So we're going to ensure that we have a yellow brick road path for 2021. That's why we're not just go do a business plan in one day. We're saying, okay, this is what it is, and we're moving forward. So let's just make sure that we're moving forward with those items. So diving in. So beginning with the end in mind, I'm going to ask you some questions, and you might think they're a little silly, and that's okay. Lean into them anyways. What do you want to be when you grow up? Now, sometimes, right, some of us, depending on our age, we may think that we're already there, and yet think about that for a moment. Are you right now who you want to be? What you dreamed you'd be doing? Are you doing what you've always wanted to do? And just be honest. And this is for you. You're going to make a note. You're going to write that down, right? It's incredibly easy to get caught up in the activity trap. That would be a word that you might want to write down, the activity trap. It is in the busyness of life, right? To work harder and harder at climbing the ladder of success, only to discover upon reaching the top rung that the ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. In the book, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talked about, you're going through the forest, and you're chopping down trees. You seem to be making good progress, but unless you have that person, that vision that's looking up over the trees and telling you're pointing in the right direction, you could be headed completely wrong. So, do we have our ladder propped up against the right wall? Sometimes we find ourselves achieving victories that are empty success. Are empty because it's the success that has come at the expense of things that we suddenly realize are more valuable to us. If your ladder's not leaning against the right wall, every step you take just gets you to a wrong place faster. How depressing is that? right? Think about, we use this in Classic Bold, and I'm going to butcher this saying, and yet if you think about it, we work our entire life to make money, right? And then we work, and we ignore our health and everything else. And then we get old, we don't have our health, so we spend all of our money on our health, right? Like it's not productive. So in habit 2, begin with the end in mind, is based on imagination. The ability to create and to envision, to see the potential. We create that in our minds, the thing that we cannot see at present with our eyes. It is based on the principle that all things are created twice. There is the mental, our first creation, and a physical, our second creation. That second creation follows from the first, just as a building follows from a blueprint. So Hobie, you're building the house right now. It's super excited. You're almost done. Close. Can you imagine if they would not have built that house from a blueprint? Right? Like, you can't see it, to tweak it, to make adjustments. So we want a blueprint for our life. It's the same with your personal life. If you don't, then empower yourself and other people and circumstances to shape you. Let me say that again. When you empower other people and circumstances to shape you in your life, that's where you get that life by default. And we're looking for that life by design. So it's about connecting again with your own uniqueness and then defining the personal, moral, and ethical guidelines within which you can most happily express and fulfill your life by design. So to begin with the end in mind means to begin each day, task, or project with a clear vision of your desired directions. So that might be something that you write down. Do you begin your day with task, or project with a clear vision of your desired directions? So if I want to go here, what are the steps that are going to get me there? And then continue by flexing your proactive muscles to make that thing happen. So that's beginning with that end in mind. We talk about, if we're here and we want to go there, we got to know where here is. So this is we're going to check your vision. It's a personal vision checkup. Again, you're going to write the answers to these questions, and I'm going to give you some time to do that. You're going to take about a minute on each one and think about the questions and then just write down your thoughts. Matter of fact, I'm actually going to give you just a total of 3 minutes in just a second. What am I doing right now with my life? Does it make me happy? Do I feel fulfilled? You're just going to write. What do I keep gravitating toward? Is it different from what I'm currently doing? And just free write. What did I like to do as a child? Do those things still bring me satisfaction? Am I doing any of them? What interests me most right now? What fills my soul? What can I do well? What are my unique traits and strengths? Okay. Now this is just going to be an exercise in free writing. So we're not concerned about spelling or if it makes sense or anything. Okay. Everybody ready? All right. Timer starting. You've got 3 minutes. Go. Got 90 seconds left. Thirty seconds. Keep writing. All right, finish that thought. All right, and we're done. Feel free to take a screenshot of anything that we have here, even though we're going to send out the recording. If you want to take a screenshot of these so you can go back and continue to work on these questions, that's fine. You don't have to. And yet, if you'd like to, before I move on. Okay, we good? All right, awesome. Okay. So this is, now that we've done that vision, kind of that checkup from the neck up, right? One of the best ways to begin with the end in mind and incorporate habit 2 into your life is develop a personal mission statement. It focuses on what you desire to be and do. Be, right? It is your plan for success. It reaffirms who you are. It puts your goals in focus and it moves your ideas into the real world. Your mission statement makes you the leader of your own life. You create your own destiny and secure the future you envision. That life by design. Pretty cool, yeah? Okay, so how do we do that? Look at the responses. Look at what you wrote when we were checking your vision. Now, it's very likely that your true mission in life is beginning to surface again. Circle any keywords, anything that maybe you said more than once. Underline anything, just kind of review that. Okay. And you're gonna have an opportunity to go back to that. And yet, when we get to work on your personal mission statement, this contributes, it gives you that clear vision of what you desire to be and contributes your desire to make the more effective you will be in your life. Now, keep in mind that a personal mission statement is, well, personal. There's no set length or style. It could be a poem. It could be a few sentences. It could be a few pages. It could even be a song, right? As a sculptor, you're the sculptor of your life. You must bring the shape, color, and expression to the clay, right? Same is true of your mission statement. So you're going to bring past experiences, wisdom, ideas, and creativity to this process of creating that personal mission statement. If what you write feels flat and unexciting, you may be on the wrong track. If the words overwhelm you with emotion and excitement, now you know you're on to something, right? Now, there are 6 steps that will help you develop a personal mission statement. Step 1, right here on the screen, brainstorm, and these are some brainstorm ideas. So you're going to do some free writing. So again, no worries about spelling, punctuation. If you hit a point where you can't think of anything, just write. You're going to keep writing, and the words or phrases that come immediately to mind. You're brainstorming and not writing a final draft. So again, think of it as dating it. If you think of it, write it down. You can get rid of it later if you'd like. The purpose is to capture your ideas on paper. So I'm about to, and we're going to spend a couple of minutes here on each one of these pieces. So you're going to start with step one. You're going to identify an influential person. One person who had, knowingly or unknowingly, a positive influence on your life. You're going to be thinking, what are the qualities you most admire in this person? What qualities did you gain from this person? This is not the, I want you to think about the show and not the gentleman and everything that we found out afterwards. I think about family. I think about what I learned from the Cosby Show. There's when I think about women and strong women, I think about Louis L'Amour. He's a writer. I've never met him, but he had a great influence in my life, right? So it can be alive, not alive, parents, but identify an influential person, and then you're going to ask yourself those questions. Then you're going to define who you desire to become. We imagine it's 20 years in the future. You have achieved all you've ever hoped to achieve. What is your list of accomplishments? What do you want to have, do, and be? And then number 3, you're going to determine what is important to you today. So what are the 10 things that are most rewarding to you today? What do you live for and love in life? Okay. Go ahead and screenshot this because you may not be able to get to all of it before I call time. So take a screenshot of that so that you have that. And now I'm setting the alarm, and you've got 6 minutes to complete. That way you can spend about 2 minutes on each one. And I'll do a countdown. Yeah. Before I do that, and guys, because we are covering so much content, if I say something or go too fast, raise your hand, yell at me, unmute, whatever, and I can slow it down. So any questions before I say go? We're good? All right, go. You want to be probably moved into the second one if you haven't. We've got a little under 4 minutes left. Got about 2 minutes left. We've got about a minute left. Okay, start wrapping that up. Okay. So you've started, right, in that 6 minutes, you've started developing that personal mission statement. Some of you actually might already have a personal mission statement, and yet this may have given you the opportunity to start updating it. So this is where we're going to take a breath. We're going to relax. We're actually going to step away from this exercise, do a quick checkup back in the business, and then we're going to come back to this. This is going to allow your brain to kind of just free associate and think about some of these items. All right, so business plan. So I'm actually going to change my share real quick. So something that, and Marcia, you had asked this question, are we able to, is this fillable? And I'd actually originally told you, no, it is fillable. You just have to download it correctly. So when you download it correctly, Mon, what did you tell me earlier? How do they need to download it so that it's fillable?
They just need to download it directly from the email. And once downloaded, that's a time when it can be editable.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so it can be.
That did not work.
Okay, it may be, I don't know the answer to that then, because Mon was able to do that.
Well, I was trying to do that too, but then it wasn't giving me an option to like save it. I would think you would have to save it, like save as, and then when you downloaded it and filled it in, you could save it. I wasn't finding where you could do that.
What I'll do then, for sake of time for today, is I'm going to have Mon or do a quick video of how he did that, and we'll send it out. Because it also might depend on what kind of computer you have, and if you have like the version of Word, but we'll do that and get it to you.
Yeah, I was worried about doing all that on there, and then it didn't save, and then I would have to redo it.
Yeah.
It did not come in as a Word document. It came in as a PDF.
Okay, maybe that's the difference. So I'll have mine, I probably emailed it to you guys as a PDF. So I'll have mine resend it as a Word document. Thank you, Marcia. That's the issue. Okay. So now we've been talking about this. So I'm not like for the last 4 weeks, so I'm not going to go far into this because this, and yet everybody, if you don't already have this, I'm going to suggest you need to have this by like ASAP, today, tomorrow, because today is the first day of the last quarter, which is when your January 1 begins today. We want to make sure that we have your business plan and your action steps together no later than November 1. So that's why this piece is going to be so important. So go through here and make sure you can check your prep form that we do, right? What were your listing appointments, buyer appointments? Fill that out. We're looking for the sources of business. Where did your business come from? How many transactions from that? If you know the cost of securing business, you're going to put it here. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. We are going to start that so that next year you'll always be able to answer that question. You are going to tell how much income you earn. Do the income, I'm going to suggest on the gross commission income. Don't overthink it though. Let's just make sure that we have it. If you don't have the cost of securing business, then you're not going to be able to do B minus A. So that means you skip it. Okay.
I have a question, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe for me what is considered the cost of securing business?
Yes. So I ran an ad on Facebook. What did I pay to do that? Past clients, what is my, and we're going to go through this because we're talking about the budget model today. So we'll go more in depth in a minute. And yet it would be an example of that would be, I did a client event. How much did that cost me?
That means you have to be able to track it directly to the client event, which is not going to happen with a past client or something.
But how much did you spend finding that?
Well, you didn't, if you have client events and most of your business is coming from past clients, you're not going to be able to attribute the cost of that event to securing a referral from a past client.
But
Because
it's part
that's one of, I don't know how many things that you do.
part of your overall. So when we get to the budget model, it may make more sense. But yeah, like if I'm running a 36 touch and part of that to attract past clients and past client referrals is a client event, then I spent that money to attract that business.
Okay.
We'll look at it in the budget model and see if it doesn't shake loose. If not, then we can come back to that.
Okay.
Olivia, if you spent, say, if you did a mailing every month to your sphere and say it's $500 a month, so you had $6,000, couldn't you take, if you're getting past clients and repeat clients, couldn't you take 3,000 and put in each of those categories? Because you did spend that money to get referrals.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and then if we come down here, current number of in your contact database.
Yeah.
Current number of agents and referral network. Maybe you don't have any. Well, then it's easy. That's 0. Current number of allied resources. Fancy word for vendors. Number of calls made to contact database in 2020. Contact database in 2020. And then a number of touches. Number of calls to allied. Number of meetings. Number of referral network. If you haven't been tracking this very well, we're going to be real technical and we going to guesstimate. Okay. Just get a number. Okay. Now we are going to, we are going to be tracking more of this, and yet just for now, get a number will give us a basis or a place to start. The reason why that we haven't filled out part 2 yet is because of the things that we're working. Now, if you've got your economic model, because we've been talking about for the last few weeks, you've got your lead generation model, you can start filling out part 2, right? So all of this is where are we going for 2021, okay? So you're going to pull that from the economic model and everything, and you're just going to plug it into here. We're also writing your top 5 business sources. And then you have, how many do we need to have in our database? What's your profit share, net worth? Let's say you own another business. Just like profit share is another business, you might add that here or have a 3rd page. That's okay. And then you're going to identify your goals and your events. Now, we're going to be talking about a lot of this, and yet you can start filling this in, but part 1 is what we definitely want to have at this point. It's going to make everything else easier. Now, I emailed you guys. So again, if you're on the call and you're not one of my coaching clients, if you'll put or if y'all will put your email address in the chat box, Ramon, my amazing cyberbacker admin, he will email this to you. This is the MREA business plan, right? It's downloaded from KW Connect. You can also get it from there. We're going to use this today. I'll tell you what page we're on because we're not going through it like, we're going to jump around a bit, okay? So where we're going to start is that it shows up on my iPad as page 29. You're going to see it at the bottom of your page as 2.21. So if you want to follow along, otherwise you can look at this. The 5 fundamental models, one system. So you've got the economic model, a formula that describes the relationship between a series of activities and the specific outcomes they produce. It shows you where your money comes from, where it goes, and how much is left over for you. To achieve the amount of net income you desire, you use the economic model. That takes you to the lead generation. This is a plan for where does your money come from. So you will need to generate X number of deals. That takes you to the budget model. This is a plan for where your money goes. It's very much like time, right? We talk about, I want to tell my time where to go, where it's going versus wonder where it went. We want to tell our money where it's going versus wondering where it went. So the budget model, we spend X amount of money in specific areas to support those efforts. Then the organizational model, this is a plan for hiring help. Next week, we're going to look at the organizational model. We're going to hire X number of people to service it all, right? And then the expansion model, which we're not going to focus on right now. Now, we're going to go to page 315 if you're keeping notes or if you're following along. This is the business plan or economic model. Now, I'm actually going to switch screens again. I sent you guys an Excel formula or Excel with your economic model in there. If you want to pull that up on your computer, because we're going to fill these numbers out. Now, some of you have already got these filled out, and that is great. And yet it's going to give us an opportunity to really make sure, because a couple of things that our intent is, not only do you have these numbers, but just like we talked about, you're dating these numbers. So you're going to fill them in and then go, do I have the, if this is my economic model, do I have the organizational model that'll help me get there? Do I have the lead generation model, that type of thing? So if we're looking at this, we're just going to fill this out really quickly, and I'm going to walk through. So if you have yours already filled out, it's just another learning experience. If not, you can have this open and fill this out while we go along. So if my goal for my total net income is 200,000, I need another zero. Over here, it gives us the MREA percentages. Now, we think 40, 30, 30, because that's based on the millionaire real estate agent model, right? When you're doing $1 million. We're going to, in just a minute, I'm going to actually go through and we're going to look at the budget model, and we're going to look to see, so if you're doing 150,000 or 500,000, you may not be on that 30, 40, 30, 30, right? You're not going to, and yet, so there's different percentages. Just keep that in mind. So for your business, one of the things, let me see if so for your business, for now, we're going to figure the 150, but you're going to use your real number, right? This is just an example. So my total gross income would be 500,000. And then I put in what's my average commission amount? Let's say it's 6,000. I need to do 83 units in order to make this work. Then you're going to come in and you're going to fill in your number. So look at, this is why the business one part is so important. The part one of that business plan. what percentage based on this year's, am I at a 50-50 buyers and sellers, or I'm 60-40 buyers and sellers? Am I 40, 40-60? The intent would be 50% sellers, 50% buyers, and then grow it to 60%. Let's say right now you're at 30% buyers. Okay, well, let's bump up to 40% and see. That way we don't have to make these huge leaps. So if I'm 50% sellers, then I need to, we're going to round up, I need 42 seller listings sold. But let's say that I'm 60% sellers, not 6,000, 60. Now I need to take 50 I need to sell 50 seller listings. Well, what's my conversion rate once I have them listed? The MREA says use 70%. If you don't know yours, use 70. If you've done your math, you know yours, and you're going to use that. And let's say it's 80%. So I need to take 62 listings, 63. Well, what's my conversion rate? Again, I go to my prep form, and I realize that I've been on 48 appointments, and I have listed 30, right? Again, we're just using random numbers. You're going to use your numbers. So I would take 30 divided by 48. That gives me a 63% conversion rate. That lets me know that I need 99 seller listing appointments this year. So I need 8.39 appointments per month. Then I'll have to ask myself, well, how do I get there? Do I have enough bandwidth to do that type of thing, right? That's why we're dating it. Buyer side, if I've got 60% over here, then this becomes 40%.
Olivia?
Yes.
Quick question. Is this all based on the numbers? It just seems pretty steep on the listing appointments to net 200.
Well, you got the average commission is 6,000.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a great, but so because this is one of the reasons why people like Colorado. Like if you're, let's say your average is 6,000, I need to do 41 units. That's why we had to do 162 units in Monroe, Louisiana to make $500,000 where.
I get that.
Yeah, so that's the difference. Yeah.
Well, I think those expenses and cost of sale numbers are super high on this example as well.
Yeah.
So.
It absolutely is. Yeah, we're using this as an example, and we're going to go through that later. Yeah, because now again, it depends on everybody's area is a little different. So for you to do 41 units with your price point, that's one person and maybe an admin. Now, you could have more because there's more profit. But if you're talking about doing, if you had to do it for 81 units, right? The amount you're going to spend is higher because you're you've got to do more, so you may need more people sooner type thing. So that plays a part. So now buy side, if this is 60, this is 40 or whatever, right? And then, so in the buyer set, I need 17 to close 17 buyers. Well, what's my conversion rate? So how many buyer listings do I go on, or how many buyer listings do I take, right? Whether it's a handshake agreement or an agreement to work with me. Use yours. In the example, we're going to use 70%. So that means I need to sign 24 people this year to work with me, buyers. And then okay, well, how many appointments do I need to meet with to get them to sign? Well, again, we're going to use 70% in this example, and it's 34. So that's why it's important for you to know your numbers. So here I know that I need 2.8 buyer appointments per month to make this happen. Okay. I'm loving them. Okay, somebody came and they weren't supposed to. We got a big note. Anyways, so now this is the other cool part about this right here. How many days do you plan on working next year? So one second. The total, yep, nope.
You let Avery into the room.
Mon, will you let Avery in? Okay. So now if,
Avery barking?
I'm sorry.
Is that Avery barking?
Yeah, that's Avery. We're gonna blame that on him, not my dogs. Mine wouldn't do that. Okay, so now if we look at total seller appointments needed and total buyer appointments. So in this scenario, we've got 50 and 34. So we're looking at 84. You want to go, how many weeks am I going to work next year? A good rule of thumb is to plan it on 40. That way next year when Mega Camp is rolled around, family reunion, you don't have to be freaking out because I got to lead generate to do this. No. Build that in. Build in your days off. I'm actually going to recommend this month, go out and get a calendar for next year. Gary tells us to do this. Plan. Put your events in. You might not know the exact dates of the event, but you know Mega Camp's going to be in August or September, right? Block it out. Plan on when am I going to take family vacations. Again, you may not know the exact dates, but you could go, you know what, my plan is to do one every quarter or whatever that looks like. Put it on the schedule. That way, Gary says you work between vacations, right? Make sure that's on your schedule. Now, if we move over to the budget model, now we're going to do the work on the budget model in a different screen, and yet I wanted to make sure that you looked at this piece. A lot of, especially if you're not working with a P&L right now, or you're not sure how to set your P&L up, this will help you do that, okay? So basically, the budget model, you're going to put in what's my listing income? What was my sales income, which we're talking about buyers? Did I have any builder or new construction, referral income, leasing income, transaction administration fee income? So like sometimes people charge a processing fee, right? That you collect. We're going to have a budget, and then every month we're going to be looking at what is our actual. Again, and then if you do commercial, you could even break it into commercial income, other real estate agent income, and then it goes through cost of sales, gross profit, expenses. So we're gonna look at this on a different. This is something that would be really, if you don't already have a P&L, utilize this. Okay. There's even a full chart of accounts here. So come in and play with these pieces, and then you'll end up, as you fill that out, you'll have a summary P&L so you can quickly at a glance see where you are. Okay. Okay. Now, if there's going to be some of you that need more help with this than others, but I want you to know it's there. Okay. And again, if you don't have that, if you'll put that in the chat box, then we'll make sure that we email that to you real quick so that you have that. All right. Now, something that I do want to make a note. One of the reasons that so that's all my notes. So if you want to take a screenshot, you can. And yet one of the things that I wanted to point out here, because I found myself doing this, even though I know better, where it says net income, because it's good to know, like that, what I just showed you will automatically fill out, but you really want to know what it is and then use that as a simple form. So once you put your net income, so again, remember I said 200,000 as an example, then you're going to come down here and divide your net income by 40%. That calculates your total GCI. And then the 30% for operating and the 30% from cost of sales comes from your GCI. So on this page, 3.15, this would be a great exercise to walk yourself through. You'll get it at a lot higher, okay? And then a reminder, 20% increase year over year is a healthy business, okay? Now, a lot easier to go from 10 to 20, 20 to 40. At some point, unless you started hiring 2 years ago, you're probably not going to go from 100 to 200 in 1 year, right? So that's one of the things that we're going to look at with our organizational model. Do we have the right people in place? Okay. Now, we're going to go, we actually did that, to the database size. So Hobie, you'll see your answer here. You asked this question last week, and I gave you an answer. That's actually not correct. So we look at our database size. So if everybody will make a note, 415, you want to fill this out, because this is what you're going to then use to put on your part 2 of your business plan. You got to know how many contacts you have in your database that are receiving a 36 touch a year. Now, this is an assumption we're making that 6% of people in your database will buy or sell each year. Now, that's based on a rough calculation of the home ownership rate of 64% and the statistic that on average people move every 9 to 10 years, okay? Then you can, and then we're also making the assumption that you're going to convert 50% of that pool of 6. So that gives you an opportunity of 15 appointments per year.
I have a question, please. If you would go back, and you're asking about our database size, but what we qualified that to indicate was that it was only the database that is receiving a 36 touch.
Yeah. Now, so the answer is yes. Now, what it may tell you is you might go, okay, I've got 500 people in my database, but only 200 of them on their 36 touch. That means you need to be, between now and the end of the year, we need to get the other ones on the 36 touch so that we could include them in next year's numbers. Okay. Yeah. Because it's kind of like in never-ending referrals. We talk about a 10% return on your business. Well, you're not going to get that unless you have that 36 touch in place. Okay. So now we're going to have the following assumption. So Hobie, you asked that. So let's say that 4% of your database gives you a referral and you convert 50% of those. Now you can do the same math, and that would give you an opportunity for 10 appointments. Now keep in mind, these aren't your numbers, right? So those of you that are working with your database for a long time, you can come in and look at your database and how much business did you get from your database this year, and what is the increase of opportunity, right? And then you're going to come out here and say, okay, how many appointments will you have based on the number of contacts in your database? So again, it's just this math. If it's 500, you multiply that by 0.06, you multiply that by 0.5, which is 50%. And this example, it gives you 25 appointments each year. When you calculate the reverse to give you what size of a database that you need for your appointment goal, in our example earlier, we'll use that. Do you guys remember what it was? Let's see, I used the example of 84 appointments. So if I needed 84 appointments, I'm going to divide that by 60%. That's going to give me 50.4. So we're going to say 51. I'm sorry, that's going to give me 50.1, so 51. And then I'm going to divide that by my conversion rate. Now I'm going to use the example book conversion rate of 50%.
That's not right, Olivia. It's not 60%, it's 0.06.
Well,
Yep,
6%.
it is 6%. $84 divided by 6%. Okay. No, I just did the math, but yeah, that's 1,400. Then I'm going to divide it by my conversion rate, or in this example, we're going to say divide it by a conversion rate of 50%. That means I need 2,800 contacts in my database. So you want to do the percentage in yours and then share that with me, or if you're another MAPS coach, that we can look at your database and help you figure out what your database number is, right? Because depending on, it's very possible you have a higher conversion rate. That gives us a place to start, because usually when we don't hit our goal, it's because we don't have enough leads, listings, leverage. We don't have enough leads to get to the appointments because our database isn't big enough, or we don't have enough sources of business. Okay.
So Olivia.
Yes.
On that, so I don't utilize this yet, so this is going to be fun. But I've got 5,000 that are in my database. So it's just about me making more phone. I mean, it's about me having contact, talking more, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because we can look at that. So so again, we're going to say if they were on a 36 touch, with 5,000 people, and we use the example of 6% of the people in your database will buy and sell. And so we say 6%. Let's say that 50% of those will buy with you. That means you have an opportunity for 150 appointments this year, just from those people that are in your database.
But that's also, you have to make sure that none of those people in your database are other agents.
That's correct. We're doing, that will not work.
Unless you can get in them agents database, then you're good.
Yeah. And then if we look at the same thing, let's say that 5,000 and 4% of those in your database give you a referral, and you convert 50% of those. Now you have an opportunity for another 100 appointments. So right now you have an opportunity for 350 appointments if they're on a 36 touch, right? So based on that, what's something that we need to be in a hurry with on putting in a place for your business?
So to reverse that, if we know how many we have that are on a 36 touch, and then we find that we had more souls than that last year than the 6%, we just have to adjust that.
Yeah, and you're really adjusting the conversion.
I just got to figure out the math.
Yeah, you're going to figure out the math. That's right.
Okay.
Now, if you want to keep it really simple, you can use what we teach in Never Ending Referrals and just look at it and go, I should be able to get 10% between referrals and appointments. So the same thing, let's say that if we use the 5,000, 10% of that would be 500, right? So even if you,
I'm only looking at which ones actually came as a referral or a past client out of that database. I'm not counting sign calls or anything like that. I'm not counting all souls. I'm just counting the souls that came from that database.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, because we want to know, do we have enough in our database, or do we need to go out and get more? Okay. So now if we look at, we're going to jump down to the budget model. Okay. Now with the budget model, y'all can still see my page, that's my iPad that has the budget model on there, right? Y'all see me writing? Or right here?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. The budget model minimizes your expenses to maximize your net income. Okay, so the budget model reflects the cash flow of the business as represented in the economic model. That is the investments you make, the return you receive, and the resulting net income. The budget is a powerful tool if you view expenses, and expenses is the money that you spend. If you view that as simply the cost of doing business, budgeting remains a chore. That's why a lot of us don't like that. When we shift our paradigm and we think that every dollar we spend is an investment into our future budgeting, that gets exciting, and you'll have a whole new level of interest around your money, okay? If you're taking notes, and that's, like I said, I put my notes up here, so if you wanted to take a screenshot, for every dollar you spend, invest, you should receive some multiple of that dollar back. If you invest $1 and you only get $1 back, well, why go through the trouble of spending it in the first place? When you get multiple dollars in return for $1 investment, you know that you're not spinning your wheels, right? And so when we look at the MREA budget, earmark this page. This is 5.3. Utilize this when you're filling out your budget model page, because it gives you that example. What is a cost to sell? What is growth profit? What is operating expenses? What is net income? Okay. And then we're going to look at the budget model here. Y'all have all seen all of these, and that's why we're not doing really far in depth. I am going to suggest that if you have not, sign up for Profit Camp. At the end of the call, I've got where the dates on that, but you want to, are you signed up for Profit Camp? Do you really understand this at a high level and utilize it in your business? You've got your big two operating expenses. That's going to be lead generation and compensation. This accounts for the lion's share of your expenses. Salaries and lead generation translate to the two important areas of your focus: staffing, productivity, which is leverage, and cost-effective lead generation, leads, with an emphasis on the seller listings, the 3 L's, right? Leads, listings, and leverage. Sometimes we notice that agents underspend in one of these categories, and they actually stunt their growth of the business. So I'm not saying spend for spending's sake, but let's make sure that we're not stunning its growth because we're waiting too long to spend. Now, I do want to hit this piece because many of us either are hiring 8 people to work on our team or we already have. There is a, when is an expense a cost of sale? So earmark this page 5.9. When an agent on your team is paid on commission or bonus structure, right? You're typically a buyer's agent, showing assistance, or paid by bonus. An example, a buyer's agent received a 50% split of the buyer sales they handle. The expense occurs because a transaction was completed, is accounted for under cost of sales. What is an operating expense? That's when we talk about compensation. That's paid, we're paying a salary. There's a salary position as classified employees. This is when you pay yourself a salary. Now, this is the other piece. When is it both compensation and cost of sales? When they're paid a salary and a commission or bonus. So typically ISAs, OSAs, and we'll get into what to pay and how to pay them when we look at your the organizational model. An example of a listing agent, they get a salary plus a bonus for each closed transaction. Salary goes to compensation and bonus goes to cost of sale. Okay. All right, the MREA chart of accounts. This is already in that Excel document that I shared with you. So there's not really much to cover. You just want to go through and start plugging in your numbers. This is the very important piece. You have heard this, and are you living by this? Lead with revenue. Subscribe to this one critical discipline. This empowers you to lead with lead generation and sales, not expenses. And then you want to play red light, green light. Highlight this or write this down. Never be as concerned with how much you spend as you are with the results you get by spending it. Sometimes people will say, am I spending too much for that? Well, how much money are you making from it? Because that's the answer. Be prepared to invest money back into your business. Usually when we can't pour money back into our business, it's because we're spending all of our profit on us, okay? And then stick to a budget. How can you stick to a budget if you don't have a budget? So this week, right, start working on that budget. And then you're going to examine that on a weekly, quarterly, and annual basis, okay? So your activity for this week is going to be to go in and make sure that you've started this if you don't already have it, okay? And the cool part is you've got that handy dandy Excel sheet that I sent you. Okay. So we're right at 2:30. So we're about to wrap up. I do want to just touch on this and take a picture of this. And then I'm also going to upload it on Olivia's Approach and we'll email it out. The next step that you're going to do is you're going to finish your rough draft of your personal mission statement, the rough draft. So these are some examples. So my life is an adventure to savor and enjoy. I have a great purpose and destiny. In my life, I will love and serve God, family, and neighbors. Have joy in serving. Build and strengthen young people. Seek truth. Develop wisdom. Teach. Set an example. Share. The last one is the Dalai Lamas. Utilize these just as an example. They don't have to look anything like this. I know just for me, I like to have an example of where am I going type thing. So I thought that would be helpful. All right, so activities. Take a snapshot of this page. We're going to finish up the habit 2 next week with, and I'm super excited about that because it's going to be how do we long-term plan and bring that back to our goals. So if you're 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, read through habit 2. Complete your economic plan if you haven't already. Begin working on your budget plan and your P&Ls. Take 5 minutes. This is going to be the important part because we look at this, we go, oh crap, there's so much to do. There's really not. You're going to take 5 minutes and write your rough draft of your personal mission statement. Set a timer. Because remember, we're just dating it. You might rewrite it every day for the next week. Add things. Carry it with you, right? You're going to make adjustments. And then page 4.21, complete everything above where it says on that page in your handout, in everything above where it says my 19 to connect, because we're going to work on the 19 to connect and the 36 touch on a different call, but everything above that, that's all of your contact information. And then register for one of the profit camps. There's one October 14th, one Tuesday, November 10th, and one Tuesday, December 15th. You have it in your, if you do a search in your email, Maps has sent that out. Okay. Now, before we go, what I'd love for you to do is write down either the chat box or unmute yourself. Do you have a, because we're at like 2:33, so I know we're about 3 minutes over. What is an aha you had? What is a question you have? Who will add value to today's call and share something with us?
I have a question, please.
Yes,
sorry, I don't know why I'm stuck with this, but I am. So when we say buyer listings taken, sometimes we have referrals that come in and they're 6-12 months out. So when you look at the buyer sales that you made versus the buyer listings that you've taken, that may not necessarily be true.
That's true.
May not be a good picture in that 1 year.
Well, but
here's all the other results.
No, well, so don't overthink it, because you're also going to list houses in December that's not going to close until the next year. That's part of it.
Okay, but what I'm looking at is if you have X number of closed sales from buyer referrals divided by the number of people that are in your 36 touch, that gives you a percentage, and then you have to look at the percentage of the difference between how many you take versus how many you close.
Yeah.
So that you know what that number is.
Because we want to do it in 1 year, right? So we're always going to have people that are coming and they're not going to be doing business for 6 months or 18 months. We want those.
Okay.
But that's going to play a part in it. Do the math, and when we go over yours individually, we'll look at that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Who else? A question or an aha before I let you go?
Aha. Is your ladder leaning on the right wall? I loved that.
Yes. Is your ladder leaning on the right wall? Yeah. That mission statement's going to help make sure that ladder's leaning on the right wall. Love it. All right. Who else? Let's get a couple more before we go.
I have a question, Olivia. So as you know, most of my business or all my businesses come from my sphere, right? So next year I'm going to be focusing I'm taking the class on the pre-foreclosure short sales. So those investors and things like that are not in my database yet. So is there a percentage or a number that I should be working on that I should include in my database to make sure I'm successful in that part of the business?
Yes. So whenever you're looking at what you plan, like where you look at the sources of business, because when we get your business plan together, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to create that GPS, and we're going to then say, okay, well, if we're planning on getting, you know, how much business are we planning on getting from the pre-foreclosures and foreclosures? We're going to be conservative in that number, and yet we're going to create the plan that hits it, and that's how we'll know that, you know, how many we're saying is going to come from that.
Okay.
I have a question now.
Okay.
If you do with her, I mean, make sure you know her.
I think so. Did that answer your question? Yeah, she's good.
Okay. So my question is, when you wake up in the morning, what form should you have in front of you to look at? Which number should you be tracking? How can we get a list of everything that we have? Because KW has so much to offer. So we say, okay, I'm going to look at my 411 this morning, but I have to track my contacts, track my dials, track my contracts. What should we look at daily? What should we look at weekly? What should we look at quarterly? What should we look at every 6 months? I mean, it's done.
So Avery, it's a great question. We're not going to have time to address that on here.
No. I don't need you to address it. I would like you to put that in your Olivia's approach somewhere, so we can just go click on it and look at it. I don't want to talk about it. I want you to just figure it out and tell me.
We are working on something with the hub that'll make that a little bit easier. So stay tuned with that. Okay.
My question was very much like his. Is there not a resources tab for master clients where everything, all these resources and these forms that you're saying are located? Because I can't find, if they don't come from you, I can't find them.
90% of the stuff that I'm sharing with you has come from the KW Connect or some of the classes. So is there one big thing? Yeah, KW Connect. Or we're going to add the things that we're using, we're going to keep creating and putting in a hub so it's easier to access for you.
She's right. If you're not a master KW, I can't find that stuff either. And I know where to even look sometime and I can't find it. So that's good that you're putting it in your stuff.
There ought to be a resources tab.
It really, yes. Well, it is. Though, go to KW Connect, plug it in. That's the resources tab. It's just so big. Okay. Let me get on a couple more ahas and then we'll wrap.
I think mine is I've always had this thought process with Keller Williams and agents. Even when I first got into the business, it was how big some people's database was and how little business they actually do. And what I concluded was, and the way I run my business is to have a much smaller database that you communicate with more. When I hear 5,000 people in database and 6,000, 8,000, that gives me a stroke because I know that I could never communicate effectively with that many people. That's why I keep my database super lean. I mean, I only do a 36 touch to 300, and I'm going to up that to 500 and do, 60, 70 transactions from it. You shouldn't require 5,000 people in your database to do that.
And so you're right, Hobie, and it's going to depend on how many units you want to do. On top of that, one of the first things that a lot of times, and somebody says 5,000, I go, okay, those are probably not Mets. Those are, you've got leads in there, you got agents in there. And so we go, okay, let's get hyper focused and let's start on that 200 to 500 of your Mets. Then we'll get that in place, and then we'll add. So you're absolutely right.
And I did that several years back. I've been in business 15 years, so probably 7, 8 years ago, I was starting to get too big of a database, and I'm like, I can't communicate with people. I'm an individual agent. I don't really have any help, and so I just trashed most of them, and I knocked it down to about 200 at that time, and now I've grown it up. I've done 700 transactions total, so I've got 500 to 600 in my database that are past clients, and I don't add people I meet at open houses. I don't add people that come in on a website. I'm not adding all those people because I'm not going to communicate with them.
Well, and those would almost be right. Even those people that are at them, those are not Mets versus Mets. So,
Right.
and we're always, the other thing is, are we top grading, right? So I think Tony DeSella used to talk about, he did 100 units every year. He had 1,000 people in his database, and he top graded. So if you haven't given referral, or right now he's going to get rid of you and put somebody else in your place, right?
Yeah.
So absolutely, you don't. Yeah, sometimes we get lost in the bigness, and we're actually not effective. It's just we have a phone book. Well, that's not.
I think that paralyzes a lot of agents that get into the business. They see all these big numbers and they're like, I can't do 5,000. I mean, I can't do the database of 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people. And it's like, keep it small and simple and communicate with them, and you'll reach your goal.
That's right. Absolutely. Now, the number's a little bit bigger than this now, but I think in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, what does it say? 1193 Mets are on a 36 touch, you net $1 million. So yeah, I think you're nail on the head there. All right, let's take one more, and then we're going to end today's call. Don't be shy. I know y'all got places to go, people to see.
Go Huskers is all I can say. They have football.
All right, perfect. Well, that's where we're going to wrap. You guys have an amazing week. As you're working through those, if you have questions, send them to me. We'll talk soon. Bye.